good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We've got a few people out here. We've got a lot of RSVPs actually that have come in. I want to say a thank you to the following people who said, I would love to be there today, but can't be there. We have Kimberly, who is in Florida right now, giving some extra support to a colleague. We also have most of our RWCCs who aren't able to join us today. We've got on the line now people from all over. We do have someone in Florida. We have Kathy Vaughn over in the afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Kathy. Cheryl's brought her hat. Love it, Cheryl. And Lisa, I want to thank you for giving us that amazing light strand. Where did you get that? Is that a Zoom background?
Yeah, it's just in Zoom. And I was looking for a way to see about blurring my background and discovered it. And I thought, oh,
amazing. Amazing.
You have to go up to the Zoom icon that's on your desktop, not in the app.
Fantastic. Well, there you go. And Rita's also bringing some holiday cheer. Rita's the closest to me. As I look at some of you, I'm realizing we also have some of our usual folk who aren't here today. Marty, who some of you have seen in past challenges, is en route to see her family for the first time in 2 years. And beyond Marty, there was someone else who said, I would love to, oh yeah, Michelle Mullins, my co-host for the Remote Pathways podcast, is also on the road for family. So this year, I think it's going to be a typical 2021 system. It's an asynchronous 18th annual holiday virtual party. Some people will be dropping in, some people will be moving out. We've got Jackie, who's actually my co-op student, driving in, and I'll say hi to Jackie, who will be in the background. Today, Jackie's been with us at Potentials Realized for about 3 months, doing some amazing work. And over the next 3 hours, I'm going to be taking people through different components. So every year, has been a different experience. This is the 18th annual virtual holiday party. It's always been virtual. Started out back on some conference calling line in 2004, when all I did in those initial annual year-end parties was just talk about group and team coaching. And so we're going to start there actually with a bit of a review for those that are coaches. For those that are focused on group and team coaching, you might really appreciate sort of a high-level overview of some of the themes and trends. It's been a big year in this space. So I'm going to dedicate our first half an hour to really looking at the overview of what's been happening in the group and team coaching space. At 10:30, I'm going to take off my background, and behind me, I have my graphic wall, and we're going to be doing a draw your future process. So whether that you are here live or whether you're listening in, I hope that you're going to join us for that 30 to 45 minute element where we're going to draw out your future. So we often talk about vision, and I will come back to vision at 12:30 today, but at 10:30, I'm going to get you to grab your pen, paper, and let's draw it out. After that, Cheryl Spruill, who is a Reconnecting Workspaces certified coach, is going to be taking over the reins and leading us through an energizer, which I'm really excited for. And that will lead us then into some dialogue around remote, virtual, and hybrid. Many of you know my most recent writing, Reconnecting Workspaces and the 90-Day Guide for Success, is all about remote, virtual, and hybrid. So I suspect many that are listening asynchronously, which is the remote first world, will be enjoying that component. One thing we'll be doing is breaking up this video in the coming weeks, really chopping this down into smaller pieces so that you can really enjoy the components that you find valuable. So final piece that I want to announce, which might be of interest to some of you, is the 12 o'clock, 2 hours from now, we'll be going into the hybrid work styles quiz, which is a quiz that I launched this summer in sort of relation to the people who were like, how do we work in a hybrid space as a team? How do we get more effective with that? And that led me down a pathway over several months to actually develop a quiz that's been taken by thousands now. And it is sort of a framework that I'm seeing teams start to embrace. So with whatever you're coming with, I hope that you're going to enjoy your time here. Want to say a big welcome. Would love to, if for those that are live on a call, would just like to unmute, say hi, tell us what you're looking forward to at this holiday season, or maybe some of you want to celebrate because it is year end, right? I call this sort of the holiday season, year-end holiday party. What do you want to celebrate from 2021? And since Cheryl is here with her holiday hat on, Cheryl, might I pass to you first? Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Okay. So my name is Cheryl Sproul, and as Jen mentioned, I'm a Reconnecting Workspaces certified coach. And I've reinvented myself in 2021. So up until January, I was an international leader of human resources. And I decided to quit my full-time job and move to a different community, sell my house, etc. So 2021 has been a year of transition for me, a year of learning, and a year about reinventing myself as a coach. So it's been quite the year. Let's leave it at
that. Quite the year. I like that, right? And I think for many of us, you know, it's been a year that certainly might have not have been imagined. I look at, you know, some of you know that I'm moving my parents into my home on the weekend. Would never have thought that would be on the radar screen even in September. But as the world has changed, certain things have been needed. So with that, anyone else want to check in with a quick, hi, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I want to celebrate? Lisa of the Lights.
I'm Lisa, and gosh, I have a lot to celebrate, including that my two of my kids are home, and my third one has a really great job that he just acquired yesterday. So that's super awesome. And what I'm really looking forward to over this holiday is a little bit of downtime from client-facing time, because I have a lot of sort of creation in the reinvention of my own business. It's not really a fully reinvention. It's more like the next iteration. And I'm super excited about that time to just have space in my head.
Yeah. And well, thank you, Lisa. And I think, you know, for us as coaches, this really is that time of year where we can pause a little bit, whether we take off, you know, a couple of weeks, which is what I'm also going to do, or we just take off a few days. It's really important that we just have that time. So welcome to you. Leslie's put up her hand. Thanks, Leslie, for giving you your digital hand. How are you doing?
Yeah. And like Lisa, actually, yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of taking some time to consume information, just to have that time to do some reading and reflection over the next couple of weeks. And I'm in Florida, and our big task is to get both of our kids here safely. And once they're here, I'll kind of drop my shoulders a bit. But I think for 2021, the significant thing for me was to realize that my niche was right in front of me all along, and my niche is team coaching. And so I shared a little bit about that with Jen earlier this week. And Jen, I just started following you on LinkedIn. So that's why I'm here. I just thought, hey, look what's happening today. So yeah, so very fortuitous that I just happened to notice that.
Well, that's good. And, you know, Samita, who's just dropped in, was with me along with Cheryl as part of the 90-day guide for success, where I was like, I better put out just a quick announcement, because I haven't had time this week in moving, you know, my parents' home to really do anything other than one email. So for those that are just catching this now, you've made it. You've made it here. I want to say hi to Samina. Hi to Rita. Rita, do you want to say anything about your work and what you do?
I am a coach, learning and development professional, OD specialist. I live maybe 4 minutes away from Jen. We're very close by, and I've known her for a very long time. And I just, I'm in 2 of her courses right now, and one of them I think is just wrapped up. And very excited to be celebrating the holidays. And today's the last day of school for the kids, so yay!
Awesome. Well, great to have Rita. It's very rare in my world that I get, you know, to have someone in my community. And Rita and I see each other maybe once a year at the farmer's market. And it's like, hey, how are you? So it's good. And Rita and I go back many lifestyles, life plans ago in our world of learning and development here in Canada. So it's great to have you. Samina's coming in from Montreal today. Hey, Samina. So anything you want to celebrate from the year, and what would you like people to know about you?
Oh, good morning. I just ran in. We were at a meeting and I said, I got to be back here at 10. So what are we doing? Introducing ourselves?
Just quick introduction, anything you want to share in celebration of this year, what this year has sort of been for you.
All right. Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Samina. I live in Montreal, Quebec, and something to share about myself. So I've been a certified coach for about a year now, but this year, what happened? We moved. And so I'm in a new place, in a new home, and I'm really building my business and getting more knowledgeable about business and coaching itself. And I'm happy to be here with all of you today. Thank you, Jen, for this opportunity.
My pleasure. And it's great. You know, I love doing these. It's always like, okay, let's just bring people together. We've got Kathy. I know sometimes Kathy, who is in Africa right now. Kathy, can you go on? There she is. I haven't seen Kathy much this year. Hello, let's hear from you.
Hi, how are you? Feels like we were doing this last year.
We were, you were, and you were here talking about the kaleidoscope. So what has 2021 brought with your kaleidoscope?
Yeah, so it's been a long year, but I think finally some things are picking up. So Jen, you'll be happy to know that yesterday, or this morning rather, I got my PCC finally.
Kathy, yay!
The drama.
Awesome.
The drama. I will leave it at that.
But you got it. After talk about perseverance, you got it. Congratulations.
And then, like Leslie, really doing a lot with team coaching. So also part of the GCCI practicum faculty. And we've been focusing on that actually. So that's been good. But so we'll see what next year brings.
Love it. Well, congratulations on that as well, Kathy. I saw you come across like I think it was LinkedIn. I'm like, oh yes, it's so good to see everyone, you know, and I think team coaching is really expanding. So I want to say hi to you, Jackie. You can let us know in chat or you can unmute if you want to share anything about you, but I've been so appreciative of your help this year in continuing to move along. Now, I also have Honey. Some of you have met Honey. Honey is in the Philippines. And so it's now like really late Friday night for Honey, but want to say welcome to all of you. Again, bit of a roadmap. And I want to, you know, we've called in, we've done our map. I won't get you to annotate today, but always a fun way to sort of get people to indicate, although maybe I should, you know what, let's grab our annotate and you'll see it at the top of the screen. Let us know where you're calling in from, because this is sort of a fun, especially with people, you know, in different parts, where you are. I think I'm over here. Put my heart up there today. There we go. Lisa, Kathy, Jackie. Awesome. Awesome. So again, think about how you're welcoming people into the call. One, I think many of you will watch today's call and think, how can I be doing things a little bit differently, right? I think initially 2 years ago, people thought virtual was just a flash in the pan. As you know, we've been seeing in my area of the woods, you know, we're going to be going probably back to virtual learning this winter, definitely. And so how do we keep it fresh? How do we keep it interesting? And so I hope that you'll get some ideas of what you can incorporate into your work as well. So I'm going to just clear the annotate there, and I'm going to save it at the same time. So we've got a visual image of that and a reminder. And again, many of you know, fastest way is actually just close, stop the share, bring the share back. So for those that dropped in to really think about group and team programs, here's the piece that has been stable in the 18 years of this business. When I started Potentials Realized back in 2004, I was committed as a former team leader to really think about how could coaching change on a big scale, right? Like I knew that in my coach training, when I was still working for the UN, I would go back to my duty station. You know, that's what it was called. It wasn't my office, it was my duty station. I would go back to my duty station between these coach training sessions and be thinking about how can I spark conversations? How can I use these skills? And inevitably I would turn to my team, but I would also be, you know, experimenting with I shouldn't say experimenting because that's sort of in a professional capacity sometimes sounds a little off-putting, but I would be running these regional and national meetings with governments and, you know, communities, but really found that the coaching approach just all of a sudden activated something that my decade plus of facilitation was not doing. And that really led me from the time that I lost vision in my eye in 2003 till the time I left service at the midpoint, early point of 2004 and started this business, was that like, you know what? Coaching could be something that was more than one person. It really could be this conversation with many. And as someone who has been with several others in the field, in a space of thought leadership, it's been so exciting to see 2021 being a year where like so much has been happening. So, the piece that I still like to feel is my neighborhood is really the virtual, remote, and hybrid work in the space of coaching groups and teams. And so this year, even before I get to some of those trends, for me this year, it's been a really exciting journey to bring forward 2 books in a 12-book series of Reconnecting Workspaces. Some of you have heard the backstory, but back in 2017, the fall of 2017, I embarked on my annual writing sprint. So every November is National Novel Writing Month. And for the last 6-7 years, I participated along with hundreds of millions of other writers around the world. And that process invites writers to write 50,000 words. This year, in fact, was the first year I did not win NaNoWriMo because I was so consumed in supporting my parents. That aside, it's an amazing opportunity to really just get into writing. So out came this manuscript in 2017, which I was holding and working with called Virtual, VRTWL, Virtual, Remote, Teams, Work, and Leadership, VRTWL, if you imagine a bumper sticker. And I still have this vision in my mind of like the VRTWL. Well, it sat there and it sat there and other books came out, right? Plan, Do, Track came out. Coaching Business Builder came out. The one hit wonder that Wiley didn't want to take, which was written through NaNoWriMo, Effective Virtual Conversations, took off last year. This book it was more than 10x book sales. I don't know how many speaking engagements I did last year on EVC, Effective Virtual Conversations. And at the end of the year, I was like, oh, wow, like I think people finally get virtual. Now it's time for me to embark on my next book challenge. And it really was what is now Reconnecting Workspaces. So it was really super fun. I think for today's landscape, the guide, it's really not a guide because there is a 90-day guide, but Reconnecting Workspaces, 21 chapters around all the key elements of really doing exceptional work in the virtual, remote, and hybrid world. And the world is here to stay. It's not a flash in the pan as much as many CEOs want. And so part of the challenge, or the biggest challenge, is connecting people. So this is where I'm going to segue into some of the key themes that we've actually been seeing, not in Reconnecting Workspaces, but in the landscape of group and team programs. Because 2021, I think after a year of people being apart, 2021 has really been a year where people have been hungry for connection. And sometimes it's still been remote. Sometimes it has been hybrid. Sometimes it's been back face-to-face. But some of the themes that we've really seen this year has been, of course, flexibility, resilience, and also looking at flow. How do we help people move out of what has been termed that space of languishing into what I call in my Reconnecting Workspaces, this place of thriving? And there's been a lot of research that has continued to emerge in this pandemic, built on years and years of what we know post-crisis, post-disaster. A big part of my professional body of work pre-coaching was in the space of post-disaster management. And so this has been a really interesting theme for me to be continuing to look at. And many of the things that you've heard me talk about in years gone by have been carrying forward. Things like the triad of the trust, safety, and connection. If we don't have these things, we don't, really have an opportunity to even connect, because people just won't show up. And in today's world, another piece of that mindset also, though, is conversation. It can be live or it can be asynchronous. And so I'm going to be really interested as a practitioner to look at, after today's call, making sure that we get this up and making sure that we actually ensure that people get to listen to this after the fact, because coaching is not just about action, but it's also about awareness. And I think as we move through today, I hope that you can stay as long as you can stay, but that we have some dialogue, because we have some great practitioners in the room in terms of people who are doing the work. And some of you have been joining me this entire quarter. Today, we celebrated day 72 of the 90-day Guide for Success Sprint. So Cheryl likes to call it Cheryl's term. And I'm going to give it to you. Cheryl calls it her breakfast club. But, since October 1st, every weekday between 7:30 and 8 a.m., we've been meeting in my Zoom room to look at the 90 days of the 90-day Guide for Success. This is a book for onboarding and reboarding in the virtual, remote, and hybrid world. So what I thought as the author was interesting, it was originally intended for organizations who didn't have something for helping their staff get into a new role or, take on a new position. But what I've seen in the last year of actually even pre-publication, taking it out to the entrepreneurial world, a lot of people are looking at this as a sprint cycle. And so all of the 90 days are as equally important, whether you're new to role or you are in a role and you're just wanting to scale your work. And I think that's where we're meeting a lot of group members, and we're also meeting a lot of team members. We got to go faster, quicker, better. So that's 90-day Guide for Success. We've also done Reconnecting Workspaces Coach, but to really dive into some of these pieces that I think in the team and group coaching space, and I'm putting them together, a lot of it comes back to connectivity. In the work that I do, the heart of all of this is connection. So this time last year, I was sharing an earlier framework. I actually talked about what was then the 5 layers of connection in virtual conversations. I've expanded that out a little bit this year, and you'll see this in Reconnecting Workspaces, because when we bring people together like we did today, it's about helping people find a common ground, right? Think about those introductions. We had people in multiple locations. It wasn't just about, hi, welcome, I want you to go on mute, but it was helping you connect in with each other, with the topics, with the content. Most of us know the platforms now, whether we're on Zoom or Teams or other platforms, but we can also further sprinkle that fairy dust, some of that annotation or polling, any of the 5 engagement levers, so that we can really widen the conversation into the space of helping us understand what's beyond the screen, what's happening in your context. And that's where I really loved your intros. Thank you for sharing your introductions today, because we've heard, of just the great successes that you've had. We've also heard of, some of the things that are ongoing. I'm going to be carrying you forward into the new year. So in your work, whether you're a coach, whether you're a leader or a group member or team member, entrepreneur, what's important for you around connection right now? Is it one of these areas? Or maybe it's just simply going back to the basics, coming and having a conversation. And throughout today, we're going to do some breakouts. So in a few minutes, I'm going to do a short breakout because I want you to be talking a little bit around some of these areas, like maybe flexibility, resilience, and flow, right? There's been huge continued research based and building on to Michele, and I can never pronounce his last name correctly, but he just passed away, a few months ago. And I think back to his whole body of work with flow and how important it is, not only in the good times, but in times of disruption. And I don't know if any of you here on the call today really have found that too. Your focus with individuals, with teams, and with groups, really honing back into this notion of, how do we build further capability around resilience? How do we ensure that there is, better flow? And that's not just about a single layer of conversation, right? It may be about wellness conversations. I've seen Jocelyn dropping in, and Jocelyn does work in integrative health and wellness. It's about really looking at ourselves in the whole 360 of life. It is also about helping people navigate more efficiently or effectively and being resilient with whatever is thrown their way. Last year at this call, I shared the 7 remote enablers. Spent a lot of time this year talking about these 7 areas that are really key things that we can cultivate, whether it's in a one-on-one conversation, whether it's in a group conversation, and certainly in teams. What I've seen with the teams that I've been coaching this year is helping them at the start of a team coaching engagement, look at where they're at in each of these areas. Because from a research lens, if we're in the remote space, these are like oxygen. These are things that we need. If we can get better at collaboration, it's going to help us, really have that consistency. It's going to help us build a strong culture, etc. So I think you may have heard me talk about the 7 remote enablers. I'm not going to talk about them now. We will come back to them as we move through the day, as we move into the virtual remote hybrid piece. But just know that this is a great assessment tool. And for those that are in the Reconnecting Workspaces coach certification, many have been using this as a great starting point, a set point. Here's one of my favorite frames. And as we went into, my TED Talk, so I did a TED Talk early this year. It was a really interesting experience. It actually is the furthest to date, the TED Talk that has been done furthest north in Canada. It's not actually that far north, but it's the furthest north in Canada, we suspect, definitely in Ontario, even though I wasn't really that super far north. However, really in saying it, it was a logistical challenge to get broadband speed fast enough to loop in with my colleagues who were doing their TED Talks the same day in Londonderry in Ireland. So it's a great experience. I look forward to doing another TED Talk, but one of the key messages I wanted to get across in the virtual remote and hybrid checklist was this notion that really to thrive, we need the trust, safety, and connection. And you've heard me talking about this triad since Effective Virtual Conversations, right? There's a whole chapter on it in this book, and now it's been updated and refreshed. So think about in your work with teams, groups, how are you helping to stimulate that trust, safety, and connection? What are you doing in order to affect that? And finally, another piece that I'd like you to think about is what are you doing to boost conversation? We will move through breakouts throughout today. We're going to do a bit of speed networking. Maybe you're using different channels, and hopefully you're using the 5 engagement levers, which I don't have on deck yet. So I know some people are dropping in just for Draw Your Future. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take a bit of a break because I could keep talking on group team. We're going to actually segue a little bit right now into an interactive session. And so one of the fun things that I did this year in the spirit of ongoing learning, which is at the heart of, I think, exceptional coaching work, is I joined one of my mentors, a woman who I now consider a mentor, Patty Dobrovolsky, for about 4 months of training in graphic facilitation. So beyond just having conversations, hopefully I don't have to take this phone call. Let me just see who that is. Okay, I'm just gonna let that ring. I'm not sure who it is, but we'll just let that go. Let me get back on track because what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so worked with Patty to really become a Draw Your Future certified facilitator. And in becoming a Draw Your Future certified facilitator, what's been exciting has been taking people, whether it's been in a group context, a team context, or even an individual context, through this process. So what I'm going to get you to do, we're going to work on this right now live, real time. If you have a pen and a piece of paper, I want you to just sketch out what you see on the screen. Okay, so just sketch out. What we're going to do is we're going to be looking in this next sort of 30 minutes at where you are and where you want to go. You've heard a few things that are happening in the landscape, but we're going to build on what's actually happening in your world right now. Take a moment, sketch this out. You can put, if you're in the mountains, you can put mountains. If you're not in the mountains, you can put a lake view. What is your current reality? And then where do you want to go? What is your desired new reality? Maybe you want some sunshine there. Maybe you want something else. Take a moment to really think about where you are and where you want to go. I'm going to take off my screen background so that you can see. I'm going to draw this out. We go as well, because we're going to create a bit of a collective map. And so part of this segue from team and group coaching, you know, at least in the world that I operate within in a remote space, it's all about collectivity. How do we create a connection across distance? How do we create a connection across how we operate and see the world, etc.? So I'm going to just do this. Let me go, and I'm going to not stop my video. I'm going to stop my, okay. Has everyone got that up? Just, yep. Okay. So let me just stop my share here. Just need to toggle something, which I can't do if you've got it on. Alrighty, so we're going to use you. Might need to adjust this a little bit. All right, the sun is streaming in, which is a really nice thing. So on your pad of paper, move this obviously the last little bit. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get you to start on your right-hand side of your screen. And sorry, your left-hand side of your page. And I want you to just take 1 minute to jot down or even sketch out. So this is an invitation for you to be a graphic facilitator as well. Okay? You don't have to do this in words. You can do this in images and icons, but on your left-hand side of the screen where you've got current reality, I want you to start sketching out in the mainframe, what are some of the things that are happening in your world? Okay, so what are the things that are happening in your world right now that are important to you? Maybe it's things that are great, maybe it's things that aren't great, but this is your current reality. Okay, so just draw those out. I'm going to start working on the screen for about 2 minutes. We'll take 2 minutes to just capture thoughts, and then we're going to put a few things on the collective map in terms of people's current reality. Sounds good? Okay, so sketch away, get creative, find your inner artist. All right, so that's probably about 2 minutes. You can keep on working on this. Again, as I said, I'd love to start creating a bit of a collective map for us here to whatever level you'd like to share. And what I'm going to do is I'll invite, we can go around the room. If you have something you'd like to share, just raise your digital hand. That'll help me follow where the conversation is going. But we're going to start by getting some ideas up on the board, maybe graphically with images, around what's part of your current reality? And you might be thinking of this in your business, in your work. What are some of the things that are in your landscape right now? Anyone like to share something that's part of their current reality? Cheryl.
Okay, so I just moved, so I'm alone here in this beautiful house. So I said I'm alone with my books.
You're alone with your books. What does that feel like, Cheryl, to be alone?
So I have a picture of me sitting down with a pile of books beside me.
I love it. Okay, does anyone else have a pile of books? Maybe you're not alone, but maybe you have a pile of books. I know they're on my nightstand, right? I've got a huge pile on my nightstand. I can't wait to read them. Anyone else have a huge pile of books? Okay, so what else? What else is in this landscape? Jocelyn, over to you.
It's funny on the theme of books. I think I have spent like so much time in like during the pandemic. I call it input, like lots of reading, lots of courses, lots of training. So that's sort of my current reality. And I know it, so it's almost like my head with lots of stuff going in. Yes. And you can imagine where it's going in terms of future desired. It's going to be more output. So it's all the stuff coming out of my head.
And what kind of output are you hoping for? What are some of these tangents outwards that you want?
Definitely more content. Could be book, blog post, more like blog posts, guest blog posts, courses like this. I'm told that a lot, that I'm a wealth of knowledge. So it's kind of separate than the coaching, but there's just so much I should be sharing. And I know that I'm so invested in terms of learning. And right now I don't share enough.
Okay, so there's a piece around sharing as well. And what's the image or the metaphor that comes to your mind when you think of sharing?
It could almost be me like with a microphone, like the way, like an image of somebody podcasting, because it's sort of like one to many. I spend so much of my time one-on-one, and it's either like it's either a lot of people or it's me almost like at a podium or with like the image that comes to mind when you see someone podcasting and you assume they're talking to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, it's the volume, right? There was another word in another group that I was working with today. We were talking about amplification, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to put a big speech bubble here.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. What else? What else is in this space of current state? So there's an aspiration there, but what else is in the current reality of your world that you want to celebrate or you want to note? Leslie?
Yeah, I really appreciate Jocelyn's comment there about consumption. And then there's always this sort of balance of consumption and then creation. And so what I actually wrote as a symbol, I had created a program. And so I drew the 5 Olympic rings. I think there's 5, but it's representing a 5-module program that I created. So as just representing those 5 modules, I just drew the Olympic rings as just a symbol for that. So nice. And I appreciate this exercise because I'm realizing, wow, actually, I did do quite a bit.
Sometimes we forget. And what I heard you also say, Leslie, was creation, then consumption. How did those
or sort of almost like this ongoing cycle.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. Creation, consumption. Which one's on the top?
I always like to think of, oh my goodness, I like to think that there's a balance. Right now, I think I'm consuming. Going into the next couple of weeks, I think it's going to be a lot of kind of soaking up while I have the time. But yeah, I'm when I heard that about this balance, I try to keep in mind is, oh, will I feel better if I just kind of get something out there, that creation piece?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just put it down here equal, like on equal levels rather than a top bottle.
Yeah.
So you may not see it. I'll take a photo of this and I'll actually color this out later this weekend and send you all a copy of this. Yours is going to look different, but right? See, notice the metaphors coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who else? Any other things that we want to put on current reality? It could be a ditto. It could be something, a totally different trend, theme. Okay. One thing, Jocelyn, you were saying input and then output.
Mm-hmm.
So output, I'd love for people to think about what output you've created this year. Like, is it content? Is it courses? Is there some other output? One of the themes we've been talking about, you know, Kathy, I heard you mentioning, you know, like your work with, you know, team coaching, teaching. That's huge. So is there something as beyond a course that should go up on the wall? Just asking that as a question. Kathy, what would you put as output?
So I've created different collaborations this year. So I also, and because I also did some training around music, using music in groups and teams. So I thought of it as like a piece of music with different tempos, musical notes. And I've done some experimentation, and I've literally like working with certain people and investing in those relationships, hoping that something next year will come in the team space.
Oh, I love that. Love that. So really the collaboration, but the music, right? And the different sounds, different rhythms, as you said.
Yeah. And also just the idea of sound really being important in our virtual world. We underutilize it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Anything else before we jump over to like your hopes of your desired future? Okay, so are we ready to go to desired future? And if we are, let's do this, right? Because I think most of you here are coaches. Not everyone, but most of you are coaches. And energetically, there can be a different energy that exists in the future state than our current reality. So as we go to move from current reality to our desired future, however you want to frame that, I'm going to invite you to stand up. Actually stand up, sort of take off, shake off that current state. We're going to do a little bit of like an infinity symbol, which there has been some scientific research that shows that this actually can help with resetting the brain. Happy to send that to you. I think it's an interesting concept. And in a second, I'll invite you to sit down, but to sit down in that place of aspirational energy, of thinking of what's possible for you in your work, life, world, however you want to frame it in 2022. And when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to sit down in this space of your desired future. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to capture those things that you want to have in your desired future. In this space, it is, of course, a space of vision, of possibility. Don't self-censure. Give yourself the freedom to dream, and dream big and dream bold. So I'll be silent for 2 minutes. Enjoy your look at your desired future. We'll move to this part of the map. Take another 30 seconds. All right. So like we did, if there's something you'd like to share about your desired future, please feel free to put up your hand. We will move into that right now. What are you hopeful for? What are you looking forward to? Anyone? Leslie? Okay, we'll go Leslie and then Samina.
Okay, yeah, the first image I had was a mirror and myself looking into it, and it's really about what's right in front of me.
Ooh. What's right there? How about you, Samina?
So I kind of, so I know we covered the current reality, but in there I had something like playing down compliments. So Wednesday evening, I finished one of my groups. It was the last session. And I was just asking feedback, I mean, because I'm going to be having another group in January and some of the participants will be the same. And so, I mean, I got compliments. This was amazing. You were great. You were this, you were that. And it's kind of like when people say that to me, and I put that on the left-hand side, is just, I play down compliments. And it just kind of builds on what Jocelyn was saying as well. And I know, like, I have those, strengths or talents and compliments. You're just kind of, oh my God, I mean, can I, should I, will I, kind of thing, always having that fear. So I mean, that was current, and desired is like, just trust my gifts and test more, welcome criticism, even kind of, I mean, go out there and ask, so what should I change or what should I do better, right? And that's the last slide of my groups usually. And I mean, you know what? I mean, one time I only had one feedback, and that was like, oh, when you send out a pre-session email, can you send it a day earlier? And like, besides that, I don't know if, again, me thinking, oh, people are just being kind and nice, but, I mean, from the feedback I got last time. So again, yeah, test more, be more brave, and just show, be out there, be myself more. And and believe what people say. From playing down compliments to believe what people say about me.
Yes, absolutely. So belief is another word. Yeah, let's put belief down here. What else is present in your space? Or what else do you want to invite to be present in your future?
Can I just jump in with one more thought?
Absolutely,
Jen?
Go ahead.
The power of referral.
Power of referral. That's a positive one. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's also about asking for referrals too.
Yes. Make the ask.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to have in this space? Any big, bold business goals? Lots of clients, lots of conversations. What else? So I see Samina like, yep. So Samina, is it lots of conversations for you? Or what is the frame? How will you know you've been successful?
Yeah, booking more, giving more groups, but more group sessions, group coaching. So booking more group coaching or selling more group coaching, should I say? More workshops.
Yep. More groups, group coaching, more workshops. What else? Anything else that you want to put on here? Because here's the interesting magic of it all, right? And Patty my mentor has done this for many, many years. She had a TED Talk. She did a TED Talk on this in 2015, which is how I first found her. So you'll have to look her up. She's 4 TED Talks. And Patty was really instrumental in helping me craft mine. But what Patty said when I first met her about 15 months ago was like, with this draw your future, you've got to be big and bold, right? Like you've got to put it out there, because if we don't, it may never happen. So, you know, that big, bold element that maybe you haven't even yet articulated to yourself, I want to invite you to put that on the map. And then when we finish this session, put that aside. Maybe you put this somewhere visual or not. I have one of the first maps I ever did with Patty in my bedroom. And we have this big wall, and it's like, I'm just going to put it there. Like we have an alcove. And so I don't watch TV. Like there's a big TV there, but on the wall is this alcove. So I don't see it every day, right? Like I don't really walk out to that part of the bedroom. And the other day I was looking at it, I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I'd drawn on the future self a bookcase, right? And a bookcase with years. I'd forgotten this. So 2022, I'd actually put down 3 books. And then, 2021, I had 3 books. And then 2022, I had another series of books. And this was before this notion of like really doing 12 books in the Reconnecting Workspaces series. So I don't know, maybe stretch, but like sometimes there's some real interesting things that show up in our subconscious before they become real. So put one thing on there that might be a stretch for you. I'm not going to ask you to name it, but for yourself, put something that is going to be a stretch in your world. All right. Anything else before we leave this? Because we've got one more part of the draw your future process. Anything else that people want to have on this map?
Jen, can I suggest? I've just got a magnifying glass. That's what's in my head. It just, I think what it means is I kind of build on what you're really good at versus moving on to whatever's next. So this magnifying glass is just, it's almost like, you know, when you're a kid and you get something to burn because you've got a magnifying glass and the sun is just like going zzz.
Burn it. And there's a focus. I'm hearing there's like a real focus in that as well. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I put the word strengths on the handle of it. And then we can put we've got the sunshine up here actually that will create that real point of, you know, maybe excellence or whatever. Love that. How about money? Should money be on this? You're all business owners. Most of you are business owners. So I'm going to put a little bit of money in here. We've got our folks. We've got groups. Anyone want teams for 2022? Kathy would.
Yes, please.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'll put some teams on here as well. And I'm also going to draw them very similar to groups, right? They are. Maybe they're virtual teams. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next is we're now going to get you to think about 3 things that are going to move you from where you are to where you want to go. The first one, we'll do these one at a time. The first one, you'll notice I've got these arrows here. The first thing is something practical, something that you can do practically to move the needle from where you are to where you want to go. Okay, take a minute to just think about that. What's one practical, bold step you can take to move the needle? Has everyone got one practical step? Okay, so the second one is the stretch. What's the stretch bold step that is going to help you move from where you are to where you want to go? Write it out, draw it out in the second layer of the big bold question. So what is the stretch next step? And now we're going to do a third one, which is the mindset. What is the mindset shift that needs to happen for you to move from where you are to where you want to go? What is the mindset that will help you, will springboard you from where you are to where you want to go? So we've got a choice here. We can do one of two things. One, we can go to breakout for a few minutes and you'll have the chance to share what you've just drawn with a colleague. Or two, we can talk it through as a larger group. I'm just curious, would anyone like to spend a few minutes in breakout and actually have the opportunity to share this with one other person? Yeah. So we've got one person. Anyone else want to go to breakout? Okay. So I can put Leslie and Samina, I can put you both in breakout. We'll maybe stay here and keep on rolling. Are you good with that? And then we'll do this for probably just with a breakout room. I'm going to just do this. Let's see, sign manually. You know what? Right now, I think we're all going to have to go to breakout. Is that an adverse reaction for anyone? I'm going to just mix it up. Okay, we're going to go to breakout for, let's go. Thanks, Kathy. All right, we'll see you later, Kathy, if you want to drop back in. So we'll do this, and Jackie, you can opt to go to breakout or not. That's you. Or you can stay here with me, and we're going to go to breakout rooms. I'm going to do 2 rooms, and I'll just assign people randomly. We'll put Cheryl and Leslie in room 1, and then we'll put Samina and Jocelyn in room 2. All right, your rooms are open and you can do that. Here's how long we'll take. We'll take 6 minutes. 6 minutes to share whatever you'd like to share about your area. Sounds good? Okay, enjoy the conversation. And Jackie, you can stay here with me or you can let me know if you want to go to breakout. And I'm going to just pause the recording.